We have a great session for you with Dr. Christy Kane. She's going to be talking about trauma in all forms. So let me send her an invite and she will be on momentarily. Let me, here we go. Dr. Dr. See what shows up. Christy Kane. She's in Highland. And you guys are more than welcome to reach out to her. We're loving the hearts. Please let us know where you're from. And if you have any questions, good evening, Dr. Kane. How are you? It's great to see you.
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So first of all, congratulations on your book launch yesterday. And
Thank you.
your talk on healthy sexuality. That was great. So
yeah, that was fun.
It is. So we have people on from West Jordan, which isn't too far from you.
Nope.
You want to just briefly tell us where your practice is, but you speak internationally. You do radio shows and talk shows, and we have South Salt Lake and Mesa, Arizona.
So my practice is in Highland, Utah.
Excellent. And you do see patients over Zoom. I think we discussed this.
Yeah,
and we also, so tonight we have a discussion that we're going to be talking about trauma in all forms. So we did receive 13 questions. And I have another question here. Let me just check. We have St. George, Utah. You and I vacationed in St. George with your family.
Yes, we did. We actually climbed, what was that, Angel's Landing or whatever?
Oh my gosh, you almost killed me. It's like going like this and like this, and we're like hanging from ropes. I mean, I'm embellishing a little bit, but
it was fun. It was good. It was a good vacation.
Dr. Kane almost killed Dennis. I'm kidding. Okay, so we have one from same. I'll just read a part of their screen name. How can I be a good friend and help for someone who has emotional trauma?
You know, the best thing any of us can do for anyone struggling is just to listen without judgment. Oftentimes we want to fix it or we want to suggest, and sometimes all someone needs is to know that someone's listening and cares and can offer a shoulder to cry on when necessary. I mean, that's the most powerful thing we can do, is be there at the crossroads. So many times, like in therapy, when someone's in crisis, they're not in my office, but they're reaching out to a friend.
And I can relate to that because I often have crises. Usually it's at 2 or 3 in the morning, my time. And so I deploy my peeps in Utah. I have a buddy system. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it's of returning missionaries. And what I do is I text anywhere from 20 to 40 of them in a group text. And whoever calls me back first is whoever helps me with that. Do you think that's a good thing for me to have?
I think we all need lifelines. You know, in my book, Dennis, Fractured Souls, Splintered Memories, Unlocking the Boxes of Trauma, she had a best friend, right? Who she was always calling and talking to after each session. I think that was a critical part of that healing process. So yeah, I think we need lifelines.
Yeah, we do. We do. So I would encourage everyone on tonight to develop a buddy system or a lifeline, like Dr. Kane says. That's probably more of a medical terminology for us to use.
Yeah.
So now, the last question that we received when I posted this in stories, which is unusual, last week we had like 20 questions. This week we only have 2. So if you want to ask questions in the comment box, by all means, ask questions and we can answer them. But the last question we have is from Robin K. How do I best support my daughter who has gone through so much?
You know, some of the most difficult aspects of life is when trauma is chronic, which means repetitive, or when we're dealing with something that just doesn't seem to have a solution or go away. I don't know that there's an easy answer to that question other than to go back what I said at the beginning, is to be there, be a support, and try to provide those positive moments when sometimes life can seem more dark.
Because often, Dr. Kane, you know, I text you privately and I say, these are the comments we have. And I reply to them and say, I'm sharing them with Dr. Kane. And what I've noticed is you reply back with, these are some great questions. We need to discuss this. But there's always, now this is just my point of view, so correct me because I'm not a doctor, but there's your story, my story, and the truth. So there's like that triangular dilemma where you need to hear from the actual daughter or the person what's going on, to maybe find out things that the parent may not necessarily hear. Is that correct?
I think it's important that, oftentimes that person's talking with a therapist in a confidential office can share things that they wouldn't share with anyone else and be more vulnerable. So there's that encouragement to offer. And maybe this daughter's seen tons of therapists or been in therapy most of her life. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's the right person at the right place and the right time that can make a difference. There was another question that came up. Did you see that question? It said, what do you do when you don't feel like you have a lifeline? Did you see
Yes.
that?
Yes, I did. So we can address that
Yeah.
now. Her name is Crystal.Bull.
I think in COVID, a lot of us felt like we didn't have lifelines because of the isolation that came about. The best thing I can say is, you know what? I hear so many women say that they feel alone in the world, and yet they're surrounded by people. And what I find is sometimes we're waiting for that person to walk through our door when we've got to be the ones that open the door and reach out. So
Yeah.
I think if you feel like you don't have a lifeline, I would challenge you to make phone calls and let people know. So many times, even in my own life, being single and things, I just drive around my car sometimes and I think, I just need someone to call me. Just call me today. I'm having a terrible day. And then I go, so make the call, Christy.
Yeah.
Call whomever and tell them it's not a good day. And when I've done that, I can't say every time, but almost always the person said, I'm here. Let's talk, or give me 30 minutes. I'll reach back out. But so many times we feel so alone that we just want someone to show that they love us by showing up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they don't, and yet they love us, but they don't know unless we ask. We've got to ask.
We do. We do. And that's a big thing, because I remember when I was having a crisis, I called you as a friend, and it's like you answered in friend mode. And then I saw immediately your mind turn to doctor mode. Dennis needs me. And you just provided so much professional insight, which I was honored to have. And I just need to thank you for that. So if we don't have any more questions, we have another one that comes in. It is so hard to ask. Yes, it is so hard to ask, but I have to tell you that when we do and when we humble ourselves, and maybe Dr. Kane, you're the doctor, so maybe you can address this a little more.
I think it's hard to ask because maybe sometimes we don't know what to ask. And so that's okay. Sometimes we don't even have to ask. We can just say, I'm not in a good place. Let's go to a movie. Let's grab popcorn. And sometimes in the saying or the talking, the ask can come out. Because I do. I think it's hard to ask. Fear of rejection, fear of being vulnerable, fear that when make the call, a person won't answer, and fear of not knowing what's really there. And so sometimes just talking. I mean, sometimes you just need a Dr. Pepper and a friend. And
Exactly.
then figure it out.
That's awesome. So I think what we're going to leave our viewers with, if we don't have any more questions. Oh, we have Crystal asked, and I don't have anyone to ask. I'm in a new city and a new ward away from family.
So use this wonderful process of technology and go back to one of those friends that you came from or family members. And then I challenge you.
Yeah.
A new friend where you're at. Introduce yourself to someone you don't know and see what can happen.
And we have another question. I think it's hard to ask because of past letdowns.
Yeah, that can, when we've been hurt, when we've been vulnerable and it didn't go well, all of us do this. We put up a wall, we put up a defense, and we start protecting ourselves. But unfortunately, when we lock ourselves behind a wall, we deny ourselves that human connection that we need. And it's hard. It's hard to break those bricks down, but we can do it. We can.
When we have wise underscore, when I ask, I get negative responses. That's where I think you need a professional.
Yes. And sometimes we have to be mindful of, is there a way to change the ask? But sometimes we have to be mindful there may be toxic people that we may need to set aside and find those who aren't toxic.
Yes. And Elder Carpenter just gave you a high five and a party sign serving in Anaheim. So Thank you. But I just want to close this with some of your background. You have just done, you've been sought after by NPR, some major news, CBS radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, BYU Radio, you've been on. Dr. Kane is a wealth of knowledge, and she is somebody that is here for you. And if you need her information, it's in her bio, and you can find out how you can speak to her, because she's booked off so much time to do public speaking engagements that, you know, she's been doing this for years, that she feels like she wants to get more intimate with working directly with individuals.
Thank you.
So.
And they can also invite me out to speak as well. I do church events, I do public events, I do lots of different things. There's one last question. Yes. How do you help someone who denies PTSD? You really can't help someone in denial, but you can love them to the point of coming out of denial. So the best thing you can do is be there and slowly allow them to come to the understanding.
Yes. And we just have one of our friends in Florida. She's a life coach, and I've used her, and it's Song of Myself. She said, ponder and pray so you will find the right person to ask. I think that's also some good advice to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
no one, all the research shows that people who live alone and people who are alone have more mental health issues and more physical health issues. And so when we're alone, it's even more important to reach out and engage with people. Humans need connection. Yes. Our brain releases the neurotransmitter oxytocin in human connection. And when we don't have that, we feel it. So reach out and get that connection.
I loved a post you did the other day on your Instagram about the number of hugs we need to do. So
8 for 8. Yep.
8 for 8
for 8 seconds. Yep.
So I'm gonna say we're giving you all a virtual 8 hugs for 8 seconds. And the last question we're gonna answer is, as always, I send you sincere love and gratitude, and we send it back, and we're sending love and light your way. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be in next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.